All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody else. My name is Spiral Jackson, and I'm going to go ahead and talk to you about what I think my Houston Texans need to do in order to get back to being a good team. Now, being a Houston Texan fan is a bit of a challenge because we have been bad for quite some time. We've been in existence for about 21 years, and of those 21 years, we've only been good about 4 or 5. And, we've never won a Super Bowl, never even made it to an AFC championship game. But I feel like if we have a good offseason, despite the fact that we had a horrible season last year, we can really do some damage next season. But it starts with the offseason. So now, like most fans, I'm out there hoping that the front office watches this video, or at least that we're on the same page. But for all we know, I could just be doing this for nothing. But I'm going to go ahead and talk to you guys about what I think the Texans need to do to get back this offseason. Let's go ahead and start with free agency. So there are 5 key free agents out right now. You know, somebody I left off this list is Shaquille Griffin, who I believe just became a free agent because the Jaguars cut him. He could be on this list too. But these are all free agents that we need to sign that could greatly help our team out. Now, here's the thing. This isn't Madden. This is real life. We're more than likely aren't going to be able to sign all these guys plus Shaquille Griffin. So let's get realistic here. We'll probably sign a bunch of depth players through free agency, and we may get 2 of these people. So let me go ahead and tell you who I think we need to go ahead and pick up. First of all, let's go ahead and eliminate some of these names. Um, so Tremont Evans, we do have a big need at linebacker. Tremaine Evans is still young. He's still, in his prime. He's going to want a lot of money. And even though linebacker is a definite big need, it's probably not so big a need that we need to spend about $40 million on one person in off season. So we can go ahead and eliminate him. Like I said, I would love Tremaine Edwards, but in the reality, I'd rather get 2 guys off this list than get no guys off this list, or just get one guy. If we can get 2 guys on here instead of just one, I'll take it. And if we sign Tremont Evans, he's probably the only guy from this list we would get. Second one. So Deron Payne would probably be the next guy. Deron Payne or Jameal Dean, because Deron Payne, well, he's high dollar right now over there with the Commanders. And Jameal Dean, I mean, he's coming off a great year, probably one of his best years yet. He's got a Super Bowl ring and everything. You could arguably say that he is the best defensive back for the Buccaneers. So, just we need cornerbacks and we definitely need defensive line help. But if I am going to sign 2 people off this list, here's what I would pick. You know, I would end up taking Mike McGlinchey. Our new offensive coordinator and D'Amico Ryans should be on the phone with Mike McGlinchey right now. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to misspell a lot of people's names in this video. It's not intentional and it doesn't really matter because you know who I'm talking about. So Mike McGlinchey, we should get him on the phone right now. D'Amico Ryan to say, hey, I got this head coaching job over here. I appreciate what you did in the trenches over there in San Francisco. Why don't you come on down here to Houston? The offensive coordinator can do the same. We need Mike McGlinchey because we need a stout right tackle to bluster up our offensive line. I'll cover just how bad our offensive line is a little bit later in this video and talk to you about why it is so important that we focus on this. Jesse Bates, goodness, we got to get this guy. Jesse Bates, if we sign Jesse Bates and Mike McGlinchey out of free agency, then that alone is a very successful free agent offseason. Because Jesse Bates is our free safety. Jalen Petrie is already playing our strong safety. position, and he had an amazing rookie season. I would say he should have won Defensive Rookie of the Year over Sauce Gardner. The thing about Sauce Gardner is he was a shutdown cornerback. He actually did play extremely well. It doesn't really show in his stats. If you don't watch football and you just look at the stats, you won't even understand why Sauce Gardner won Defensive Player of the Year. But I mean, maybe it's just the fandom in me saying Jalen Petrie should have gotten it because he had the stats. Jalen Petrie had 7 takeaways last year in his rookie year. So you put one ball hawking safety back there with another one, that just blotches up our defense. But this is the free agency I'm talking about. Like I said, I would love to get all the guys I had on my list, all the guys. Mike McGlinchey, Jesse Bates, Jameal Dean, Deron Payne, Tremont Edmonds, and Shaquille Griffin. But unfortunately, it just doesn't work that way. We don't have the cap room of Bill Gates or whatnot. So moving on, let's go ahead and talk about the draft a little bit. Actually, let's go ahead and talk about the draft a lot. See, we have needs at pretty much every position, and these are our top needs. Most people you ask about the Houston Texans, they're going to tell you that our top need is quarterback, but it's actually not. It's defensive line because you win games in the trenches. Last season, our best defensive lineman was Jerry Hughes. That's the problem. When Jerry Hughes is your best defensive lineman, your best person in the front seven, that is a problem. Because one, Jerry Hughes is out of his prime, way out of his prime. He's old enough to run for president, so. And even when he was in his prime, he still wasn't great. He was good, he was decent. His best years were definitely in Buffalo. He was nice there, but, it still wasn't great. So the fact that he was our best defender last year in the front seven, that's an issue. So our strongest need is defensive line. We need to be able to become a good team by getting key parts. Now, I said quarterback wasn't the number one need we had. It's still up there though. It's still up there. Davis Mills is not an NFL caliber quarterback. Well, he's not an NFL starting caliber quarterback. I mean, he can play in the NFL. I would love to have him on our team as our backup because I do think he is a great backup. He's the type of person that can come off the bench, win a few games for us, but he cannot be a starter for a 17 game season. He showed that last year and he kind of showed that in his rookie year too. Um, like I said, you win games in the trenches. So offensive line is our next need. Then it goes linebacker, DB, wide receiver isn't really a need, but it's more of a need than running back with what we have with Damian Pierce. Tight end is the only position on our team that I think we're set with. Like if we don't sign any tight ends in the free agency and we don't draft a single tight end in the draft, I'm perfectly fine with that because we are solid at tight end. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go through all of our needs and who I would take in the draft. You're gonna see who I believe the best players are at that position, and you're gonna see the ones that I like the best. So, for example, let's get started with the defensive line. So, I think this is a no-brainer right here. Okay, the best person, the best person for us to take with the number two overall pick is Will Anderson. Plays for Bama, was the best defender on that team, and they were like, one of the best in the nation for like the past 2 years. Will Anderson would have been a first round pick, a top 10 pick if he would have come out last year. So, I feel like this is a no brainer right here. These other guys on the list, Kacey out of Pittsburgh. This guy's a defensive tackle that ran a 4.6. Like, I mean, that athleticism, it's got to be beneficial for something. And I looked at him at Pittsburgh. He was not bad. He reminds me of an old classmate of mine, Ed Oliver, out of the University of Houston. I don't know if he'll be quite as good as Ed, but, when I have this list like this, the person who I think is the best is going to be at the top. The person who I want is going to be highlighted in yellow. Now, you'll see on most of the slides, they're pretty much one and the same, but not all of them. Here's what I think would be a good idea to do. Now, it probably won't happen, but just getting it out there. I think with Jalen Carter, um, his draft stack drops a little bit with him being like the suspect of whatever happened with the hit and run or the vehicular homicide, whatever it was. I do know it doesn't make him look very good. He was projected to be a top five pick. I think he may fall, to mid round. If that happens, what I would do is I would take both Will Anderson and Jalen Carter in the first round. A lot of people say no, you can't have two rookies on the defensive line, but here's the thing. I wasn't talking down on Jerry Hughes earlier. He's great to be the leader of our defensive line because he has the experience. He can take somebody like both Will Anderson and Jalen Carter under his wing and make them better. But, like I said, this probably won't happen. Just something I'm putting out there. Let's move on to the quarterback position. Actually, no, let's move on to offensive line, I should say. Offensive line. The best offensive lineman in this class is, without a doubt, Olu Oluwami, and I may have mispronounced that, but it doesn't matter because I am dubbing him from here on out Double O. Double O. Not just because his name is hard to pronounce, but because I feel like that just rolls off the tongue better, and I feel like he will end up being a household name because on our offensive line we have basically two weak spots. I do not like Titus Howard. You can find my video on here about how I did not like that fact that we spent a first round pick on him. But I'll always give credit where credit is due. Titus Howard may not have been who we should have taken, but he has started every game he's played. And that's not nothing. Now, I don't think he'll ever be able to contend with elite edge rushers on the outside, which is why he's been playing right guard for the past few years. That's fine. Keep him at right guard. If we do sign Mike McGlinchey from San Francisco 49ers, then we have two solid Pro Bowl caliber tackles on our offensive line with Laramie Tunsil on one end, Mike McGlinchey on the other, Double O in the middle as our center, and two former first round picks on the side of him. Now, Double O had a bad combine, which I'm happy about because that means his draft stock will plummet a little bit and he'll go to the second round. That's good because he's one of those players that he does not have to have a good combine for people like me to know he's going to be a great player. We can take this guy. Cyrus Torrance is very solid too. He's an interior offensive lineman. If we don't sign Mike McGlinchey, then Paris Johnson might end up being a first round pick. I would not hate drafting him with our second first round pick. You know, I have other plans for that. You know, um, let's go ahead and move on to quarterbacks. Um, Hendon Hooker's my guy. Hendon Hooker is who we should take in the second round. Our two second round picks, I believe, should be Hendon Hooker and Double O. And Hendon Hooker will probably not play his rookie year. That's fine. I really like Hendon Hooker. He has a large stature. He's athletic. He's an intelligent quarterback. I think he's the most pro-ready quarterback in this draft class. He just happens to be hurt. Anthony Richardson, I like him too. If we ended up taking him in the first round with our second first round pick, I wouldn't be overjoyed, but I wouldn't mind it. He had an awesome combine. He's just as big as Hendon Hooker, and his arm is a little bit more powerful, and he's a bit more athletic. So he has tremendous upside there. If we do draft Anthony Richardson or Hendon Hooker, it doesn't matter which one we take, but I don't think either one of them should play their rookie year. Davis Mills is not our quarterback of the future, but he's our quarterback for now. And I think whoever we draft, they need to sit on the bench and not necessarily learn from him, but learn the offense by watching, absorb the playbook, go to practice, and when it's time for him to step up, they'll be ready. The best quarterbacks, they become successful by sitting, watching, and learning, not just being thrown in and taking their lumps. So, moving on to our other needs. Linebackers. Now, linebacker is a strong need for us. My favorite and who I believe the best linebacker in this draft class is Drew Sanders. I think he'll come in and be kind of like a Brian Cushing type linebacker for us. He's really sideline to sideline. He's really quick, very athletic. I also like Nolan Smith because of his speed. He actually might end up being kind of like another edge rusher for if we do take him because he's very quick, very explosive off the line. I'd be fine with either one of these picks. Drew Sanders might actually go in the first round, and I would love it if he would fall to the third round, but I think he's too solid a player to fall that far. So, but if we can get him, I wouldn't mind it. Defensive backs. Now, I personally don't think any of these defensive backs will go in the first round, but I could be wrong because one thing I've noticed about the combine is this draft class is very weak at defensive back. So basically, one of two things is going to happen. Either no defensive backs are going to go in the first round, or a couple of these guys are definitely going to go in the first round. But my favorite of them is Christian Gonzalez. You'll look at this, and it's called defensive backs, which includes corners, safeties. This safety class is absolutely horrible. So that's why there are no safeties on this list. They're all cornerbacks. Jaylon Jones is a speedster. Keely Ringo is so good that people didn't even throw to him when he was at Georgia. DJ Turner, extremely fast. I think he ran like a 4.22 at the combine or 4.26, something like that. But Christian Gonzalez, I believe, is the best because I believe he has a combination of both size, athleticism, and the intangibles. He's 6'1", 200 pounds, very quick, very fast, very productive in college. This is the guy I would take, but I wouldn't be upset with any of these guys. I feel like DJ Turner definitely will not go in the first round or maybe even the second. If we can snag him in the fourth round, I think he could be an asset to our team. Wide receivers, now, like I said before, the person I want will be highlighted. The person I think is best will be on top. Zay Flowers, I feel, is one of the best wide receivers in this draft class, and I feel like he'd be very productive for us. He might fall to us in the third round. We could take him in the second round if some of those other options I was talking about before happen not to be there. But Zay Flowers, I would really like to pick him up. But the reason Trey Palmer is highlighted is because Trey Palmer would help us out in a different way, a way that Zay Flowers would not be. If we got Zay Flowers, he would be strictly a wide receiver. Trey Palmer would be able to be our kick returner and our punt returner, which is a need for us because special teams, our punter and our kicker were both Pro Bowl alternates, in case you didn't know that. They were both Pro Bowl alternates, which that doesn't mean everything, but it means something. It means they were effective enough to be considered out of all the kickers and punters in the AFC. John Weeks, our long snapper, those are the pieces of special teams. Your kicker, your punter, your long snapper, and your kick returner. And of course a few gunner and winger positions, but I don't really think we have a legitimate kick returner. I mean, we had Trey Smith who did okay. He's more of a kick returner than he is really a defensive back. But I feel like Trey Palmer, I really like him because I think we can get him in like the sixth or seventh round. And I think he'll actually end up having probably a Pro Bowl caliber season for us at kick returner. So that's why he's highlighted. I think he'd be explosive and I think we need that. But I think Zay Flowers is the best. Again, running backs. Best running back out of all these people here is Jameer Gibbs. I'm probably pronouncing his name wrong, but I would love to have him. But Jameer Gibbs is going to be a first round pick, and we do not need to use a first round pick on a running back or even a second round pick. Now, Tank Bigsby more than likely will drop to the third or fourth round. You see, I have two people highlighted here. Reason being, I want both of them. See, people that don't really watch football might not get what I'm about to say, but if Damian Pierce had other running backs and was splitting the load at running back running the ball, he would have had more yards. That may not make sense to some of you because you're saying, wait, he would have had less carries but more yards? Yes, because those carries he'd be getting at 100%, or he'd be getting at better concentration and more energy than you would by getting 40 carries a game. You give a running back 40 carries a game, by carry number 30, they're tired. They don't have that same energy. They don't have that same explosiveness. By carry 35, even less. 40, no. But with a running back like Tank Bigsby as a good spellback, Damian Pierce comes off to the sidelines, sucks down some water and O2, keeps warm, lets Tanks Bigsby be the workhorse for about 7, 8, 9 plays, goes back in, full of energy. That explosiveness is back. Deuce Vaughn, I really like Deuce Vaughn. Some people talk about his size, but here's the thing. Deuce Vaughn actually has good size for a running back. He's 5'5", but he's 180 pounds. Now, 180 pounds would be an issue if he was like 6'1", but he's 5'5" and 180 pounds. That's the equivalent of being 5'11" and 220. That's great size for a running back. And the thing is, he's a receiving back. We don't really have a solid receiving back. Our best receiving back last year was Rex Burkhead, who, in my opinion, should even be in the NFL right now. So, Deuce Vaughn, he's our third down back. Tanks Bigsby's our spell back. We draft these two players. Not only does Damian Pierce have a much better year, but of course, our whole running game gets better, which means our whole offense gets better. Because the quarterback's best friend is a great running game. And Devin Anachi out of A&M, he'd be a solid pickup too. But the ones highlighted are the ones I really want. And like I said, tight end is our strongest position. Tucker Craft, if we're going to get any tight end in the draft, which once again, I don't think we should, but if we do, it should be Tucker Craft. No matter what anybody says, this guy is the best tight end in the draft. But like I said, we don't need him. But hey, if we can get him, if he miraculously somehow falls to like the fifth or sixth round, then I'd be okay with taking him. So, so that's about it. That's my take on the Houston Texans offseason. I know this video is kind of long, but if you made it all the way to here, feel free to like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter at I am the Spiral. Follow me on Instagram at Spiral Jackson. More content to come later. All right, Spiral out.